two overdoses, this is something that's been bothering me. And correct me if I'm wrong, you said that they consume the oils. And they...
Not the oils. This is edibles.
The edibles, okay.
Yeah, that's completely different than oils.
I'm familiar with it. Well, my question is, you said one stabbed himself to death and one jumped off the bridge.
Well, no, jumped off out of a hotel.
Oh, balcony, sorry.
Yeah, balcony.
So, in my experience with overdoses, which I know those are
You mean with edibles and marijuana?
not in that same.
Okay.
How does that, I mean, wouldn't that be more them killing themselves?
Yeah,
You're saying
but-
because they were high, they did it, that counts as an overdose? I was just really wondering.
Yeah, this is from the autopsies from the coroner's office in Colorado. The one that jumped off balcony, that just was released last week. It was their very first, as Colorado was saying, their very first marijuana intoxication, and it resulted in, just like, so, pardon me?
Like an alcohol?
Yeah, yeah. So what they are seeing is that, and this is, they literally had to come up with a campaign when the edibles came out, because they were not ready for this. Colorado was not ready for 300 pieces of edibles. And they had to come up with a campaign very quickly that said, go slow. They had to teach adults about what this means, okay? And you have to know that a lot of these adults, I mean, you're much younger than me. I grew up in the 70s, okay? This is not the same. In the 70s, 60s, and 70s, it was a joint. It wasn't a ton of, oh, we're going to have a dinner party and everything's going to have marijuana in it. It didn't happen that way, okay? Didn't happen that way. All of this stuff is brand new. So, and they had to figure out how much is going to go in to the different pieces of edibles, and then how do we package it. So yeah, I mean, you can look it up. I can figure out how to send it to you. Pardon me?
Does anybody die strictly from just, like,
You mean like smoking too much?
eating, smoking, whatever?
Well, I just told you it was.
Did that cause?
I just told you it was the edibles. So the eating part, yes. The smoking part, we have not heard of any that they sat there and smoked themselves to an intoxication.
Oh, so you would consider that dying from eating?
It's marijuana intoxication. The level of THC that was in their system caused the death. That was the coroner's report.
All right, one second. I just want to say, so can I just add something? So he ate too much marijuana, he had a psychotic break.
Yeah.
And he killed himself.
Yeah.
And then he jumps.
So can I actually have the report here from that particular death from the Centers for Disease Control, the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly. And it actually describes how they came to the conclusion that he died. The conclusion they came to was that he ate too much of this marijuana edible and then went into a psychotic break and committed suicide. What they don't tell you in the article in Forbes was this young man was an exchange student from the Republic of Congo, first of all. So my first question is, how do we know that he never had a psychotic break? And also as a clinical psychologist who has spent many hours on call after hours, and during the workday, I knew it was going to be a bad day if another soldier or a first sergeant came into my office and said, hey, I got this guy, he's just acting a little weird. Well, usually, once you started talking to people, as a professional, I realized this guy started his psychotic break actually several weeks ago. It had just gotten to the point that people realized he was psychotic. So we have an exchange student from the Republic of Congo who eats too much. That's a regulation problem. Too much of a marijuana cookie. That does need to be addressed. And then jumps to his death. The conclusion is the marijuana cookie caused his death. I challenge that. I think his psychosis caused his death.
And the only comment I would make, I challenge it too. But what if it did? How many every day from opiates? How many a year from aspirin? 120, 130 deaths a year from aspirin. So, oh my goodness, we found a death, if we did. Oh my goodness. How do you justify nicotine subsidizing tobacco farmers qualified, and we get rid of this plant.
I think TJ wanted to, I read about veterans that sometimes if they have PTSD, it often causes psychotic breaks. Is there any research on that you're doing? Or?
Actually, there is no research on that. The only research on psychosis and cannabis is actually in adolescence. And I experienced the exact same quotes from, on the psychosis. I was on Fox News back in March, right after we introduced CARES Act. And former chief scientist for ONDCP, which is the President's Drug Czar's office, he referenced that study numerous times. And it actually offends me as a grown man to be told that I'm acting, be referencing studies to me, arguing against me about adolescence. Because I'm 35 years old. I don't want the government in my doctor's office, and I don't want no fear-mongering in making my doctor's decision. And so with that being said, the dose that this guy took, I think it was around 65 milligrams. The first time I was in Colorado last year, I bought a 65 milligram cookie, and I ate half of it while watching a Rockies game. And granted, I'm on the lower end of heavy user, because I actually medicate throughout the day with it.
And a big guy.
Yeah, and so approximately 30 milligrams of THC made it to where I enjoyed a baseball game. I was at a medical conference in DC earlier this year, and I took a 200 milligram THC capsule just to see how it would affect my body. And I had medical professionals, researchers around just in case something were to go wrong. However, I felt comfortable enough dealing with it. All it did was make me lay in my hotel bed, talk incessantly, laugh my butt off, and not want to move. I did not, and that was 200 milligrams, and I've heard of 300 milligrams, and that's without the CBD, and the CBD is actually what they're using to counteract marijuana intoxication now in Colorado. You go to the hospital, you've ingested, if they can find out what you ingested too much of, they can give you another cannabinoid to actually counteract it, and they're working with, experiment with that now.
But the 200 milligrams should be safe for cancer patients and stuff.
Right, and I didn't feel comfortable with it, but a little bit less, and I would have been okay, or more cannabidiol or other cannabinoids.
We're going to move on to our next question. Okay. Good.